Heyo, my name is Curci, and this is my list for the top 5 most disappointing things at E3 2014. Number 5, The Last Guardian. I didn't know much about The Last Guardian, but as E3 grew closer, I kept hearing about it more and more. It is clear that the hype for the game is unquestionable, and I grew very curious. I did some research and sparked a slight bit of interest myself. I wanted to know what was so big about this game and why people were losing their minds over it. I wanted to know more about it. I wanted more details. I wanted to see The Last Guardian, and I won't lie, its complete absence did leave me a bit disappointed. But that is nothing compared to the many hardcore fans that must go yet another year without The Last Guardian. Number 4, Assassin's Creed Unity. There's no mistaking my love for the series of Assassin's Creed, but the game has some minor things that plague it. These minor things continue to rear their ugly heads throughout the series, never really getting any better and only barely being addressed. I will say that the atmosphere for this new Assassin's Creed game is awesome. The setting of the French Revolution seems to be a fresh and fitting setting for a game about killing people. The movements look more smooth, and the addition of a real co-op feature seems to be some of the things that are getting people excited. Knowing full well that the days of sailing on a ship are behind us, I wanted Assassin's Creed Unity to not only fix the issues that continue to pester the series, but to create a new feel to the game like what naval gameplay did for Black Flag. But when the final day of E3 came and went, I was disappointed at the overall image that was painted. The addition of co-op, while still cool, shouldn't be the only thing that the game is focused around. Many games have this feature to play missions with friends, and sure, Assassin's Creed was due for a mode like this itself, but I was hoping for more than just that. During the Ubisoft press conference, the gameplay demo proved that the really needing to be fixed combat mechanic has returned in all of its completely redundant glory. While interviews after the conference stated that the game would be getting away from the annoying tailing missions, the developers never actually said that they were completely gone, and worst of it all, the new co-op mode replaces the competitive multiplayer that I personally loved about the series. And what if I don't like playing cooperatively with other players? Will the game force it on me? Can I opt out? And if I can, what will make this game so special? One of my most favorite gaming franchises ever has clearly taken a turn that takes the rejuvenated feeling I got from playing Black Flag and tells me that Assassin's Creed is long past its time. Number 3, EA's press conference. I won't sit here and claim that everything about EA's press conference was bad, and sure, I recognize that those sports games will appeal to a certain audience, but the bone that I have to pick is the overall execution. This particular press conference was too heavy in a single category and had little to no variation in its showing. EA spent everything somewhat interesting in the beginning of the show, leaving the remainder to talk entirely of sports. Again, many people are into those kinds of games, but the press conference spent way too much time on one thing, showing how not innovating these titles were. No matter what you say, every Madden looks exactly the same. Not to mention twice talking about a new IP so early that names cannot be attached to them, and showing off Mirror's Edge footage that may not be exactly the same footage as previously shown, but how much more different is it? The show ended on Battlefield Hardline, which really takes cops and robbers to an unnecessary extreme, but I'd be lying if I said it was a bad demo. The overall presentation was sloppy and heavily unbalanced. It was not a good showing by EA. Number 2, no Fallout. The last time we saw the post-apocalyptic world of Fallout that was created by Bethesda Softworks was Fallout 3, which came out in 2008. The game sold 610,000 copies in its first month after launching and received numerous Game of the Year awards, leaving fans essentially begging for a sequel. We would see the sequel in Fallout New Vegas 2 years later, but this time it wasn't being developed by Bethesda, but by Obsidian Entertainment, only being published by Bethesda Softworks. Sharing the same engine as its predecessor, the game just felt like a really long DLC for Fallout 3. It wasn't necessarily a bad game as it would sell 5 million copies worldwide, but the game would be criticized of being plagued by numerous technical issues that included frequent crashes. While the game was praised for its overall execution, those technical issues played a huge role in it not actually holding up to the awesome game that was Fallout 3. In 2013, the voice actor of Three Dog, a character in Fallout 3, sent out a tweet stating that the Fallout character would return. This tease led everyone to believe that Fallout was coming, but as E3 2013 came and went, there was no mention of another Fallout game. Later that year, the website thesurvivor2299.com sprung up and hinted even more at a Fallout 4 announcement, but the site was later revealed to be nothing more than a hoax. A month later, Kotaku reported that Fallout 4 was in development and that the game would be based in Boston, but when ZeniMax, the parent company of Bethesda Softworks, claimed that they had no plans for Boston, it didn't stop fans from setting their gaze to E3 2014. Now imagine all this excitement, all this build-up, and you can't wait for Fallout 4 to finally be announced at E3. But when E3 comes and goes and there is absolutely nothing about Fallout 4, wouldn't you too be disappointed? Number 1. The Mass Effect tease. While the lack of a Fallout 4 announcement stung pretty bad, for me personally it was BioWare's handling of the tease for the next Mass Effect game that left me with an all too familiar unsatisfied feeling. I absolutely love the Mass Effect games, with Mass Effect 3 being amongst one of my more favorite games ever. While the first Mass Effect wasn't a flawless execution with missteps in game mechanics and the copy and paste generic side quest locations, the storytelling element was unparalleled and for me, innovated the genre of role-playing games. Mass Effect 2 would correct the mistakes made by the first game and would deliver even more in terms of story and would excel in character development. Mass Effect 2 has even been referred to as one of the best made games of all time. Mass Effect 3 would wrap up the story of the trilogy in an epic final installment that stayed true to the phenomenal storytelling that is magnified due to the setting of a galactic war taking place. Years of build up into one epic game that by the end would have forged a unique story that you would then spend hours comparing with your friends. Who was still alive at the end, and what choices you made and why. The problem with Mass Effect 3 was its highly controversial endings that left loyal fans very unsatisfied, and BioWare would see some backlash in that regard. The development team would rebound with a free extended cut ending DLC that would include formerly deleted scenes and would expand on what happened at the end of it all. While it didn't win back everyone, it did win back some, myself included. Mass Effect is one of the greatest pieces of work in gaming history, and shortly after it all ended in 2012, when Mass Effect 3 was released, BioWare confirmed that it wouldn't be the last Mass Effect game. Over the last 2 years, we heard updates on the next game, and everyone was expecting to get more information at E3. A title to call the game, an idea of what the game would be about. What actually happened was that they talked about the ideas of the game, how it would go to new places, introduce new characters, and do new things. They showed some of the character models, concept art, and footage of some of the new places, and then that was all. No name, no CGI trailer, no real tease. Nothing. They basically showed up, talked about the things we already knew, showed us the most random and general images, and then that was it. The only thing that this so-called tease told me was that by showing a Krogan and a character in N7 armor, which is essentially human armor, was that this new game wouldn't be about a Prothean prequel. But does it run beside the main trilogy, slightly before, or even possibly after? What is it even about? We are basically as in the dark as we were before the show, and for a game that we are not allowed to call Mass Effect 4, we still have nothing to call it by. It felt like a slap in the face, and it was the same unsatisfied feeling fans got when met with the initial endings of Mass Effect 3. The kind that makes you ask yourself, wait, was that all? And the realization of what you just saw hitting you. For fans like me, this was the most disappointing thing at this year's E3. What was it that most disappointed you at E3? Let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.